The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer of sports talk and a whole lot more. Join host Brent Radlinsky as he bellies up to the bar and gets the conversation going that'll make you think you're sitting in your local watering room. It's sports, beer, and shenanigans. So sit back, grab a few beers, and let's get into it. The 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, 4 beer of sports talk and a whole lot more for this 29th day of November, 2025. Santa Claus Parade Day out there in Fort McLeod. Going to head out there and watch parade with Mom soon done recording this little show this morning. Today's show, as always, is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code BellyUpSports over there at SeatGeek and save yourself $20 on your first purchase. Remember, we are part of that Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all the great articles. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as all the great podcasts and everything else that's going on over there at Belly Up Sports. Lots going on, lots happening. Tailgate in the quad. I've started to listen to that one more consistently with the college football season wrapping up. Kevin's got one of the best views out there on college football. So if you're into that, make sure you check that out. And as always, check out Jim, the fan of the band. He had a very poignant episode last time talking about his mental health struggles. And yeah, it's a lot. Mental health month, the Movember thing is there's wrapping up. But we'll talk about that a little bit on my end of things on tomorrow's show. We'll get on that a little bit later on. But yeah. Thank you, everybody, listening to the show. Anyways, Hal Steinbrenner decided to flap his gums earlier on this week, and talk about the state of the Yankees and financials, and on it goes. And this is more about a man, I think, that's just caught in between a rock and a hard place, and the court of public opinion isn't exactly fair with how much he spends and how much he makes and everything else. And he kind of laid the finances out there. And Jim talked about this on Fan of the Van earlier on this week about the finances. So I won't get into it as deep as him. But I got thinking about Yankee fans and Yankee fandom, and it's more of a dumb than it is a fandom thing. Because for people to say that Hal Steinbrenner is cheap, they're out to lunch. In the last 20 years or 15 years or whatever it's been since he's overtaken the team. Remember, he took over when before his dad passed away, because George's decline was pretty heavily in the last few years. So even in 2009, when the Yankees didn't win that World Series, I think George passed away in 2010. But over those 16, 17, 18 years, whatever it's been, Hal's outspent pretty much everybody except the Dodgers in payroll. And you can't expect people to be spending $400 million on payroll. And the Dodgers have found a way to get money on the back end and get people paid in the back end, and all the power to them for doing that. But for people to say that Hal's cheap, they're completely out to lunch, and I don't think it matters. The $319 million he spent this year is, it's going to be that again next year, and the people want him to spend more. And what's that get you? What's that get you? Yeah, people seem to forget, especially right now, Yankee fans, they seem to forget that they were, they spent a bunch of money. They were basically a couple outs away from losing the Red Sox in the first round in the wild card round this year. And then you look at the Toronto Blue Jays, who were an inch away. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, if he runs through home plate instead of sliding, they probably win the World Series. And they had a payroll about, I want to say, $70 million less than the Dodgers did this year. So winning that or spending doesn't exactly equate to winning a championship. It might help, but it doesn't exactly equate to that. The only time that's actually worked in the last 2 years with the Dodgers. But they also have an all-time guy in Ohtani. And Ohtani wasn't the end-all and be-all for the Dodgers in this World Series, in this past World Series. So spending money doesn't equate to the whole thing. Spending money doesn't make you, doesn't guarantee you anything. And for Yankee fans to be pointing their finger at Hal's not the problem. Hal's not the problem at all. Maybe they just measure success a little bit differently. Maybe they measure success on a different level at winning a championship. And it's not George or Hal that's ever once said, to my knowledge, he's never once said championship or bust, World Series or bust. That comes from old Jeter lore. That comes from old George lore. And George gets over romanticized. We you guys should go back and listen to the show or watch on YouTube about the over romanticism of the boss, and it came out a lot this week. No one knew the ins and outs of how this all works, of how there's a stadium tax, and then there's a city tax that they pay, and then you have to you're making X amount of dollars every year, but if your payroll's 319 and you're bringing in 700 plus you're spending, eventually you're running on a credit card. if you don't have actual cash dollars to do it and a credit card to pay for it all, there's some budgetary restraints. And people don't know that they have investors too. The Yankees have investors that need to get paid, and they're taking their slice of the pie. This isn't the Guggenheim Group in LA who bought the Dodgers for $1 billion cash or whatever it was. This isn't Steve Cohen who bought the Mets across town, and he's got $14 billion cash in the bank. He could lose $300 million every year, and I've read over the last few days that he has actually lost money, but it doesn't matter. When you got 14 sheets in the 14 billion, those are big sheets, not just the millions. You can afford to lose that kind of money, so it doesn't even matter. And what did that spending get the Mets? They're the worst team in baseball in the second half of the season. So spending doesn't equate to winning. There's only X amount of great players that are out there. There's guys who are making how much money that aren't great. We'll talk about the A-Rod documentary in a little bit, but you think about the contract he got from the Rangers back in 1997 or whatever it was, 98, I can't, it doesn't matter, or 2000, it doesn't matter what year it was. But you think about that contract, he got 25.2 a year out of nowhere, and that was huge money back then. Still big money now, I'd take it. But Sonny Gray's going to make $40 million this year. There's lots of $20 million players out there right now. Lots of $25 million players right now. Are they good? Yeah. Are they great? No. So just because you spend a bunch of money doesn't equate to anything. It's how you spend your money and who you spend it on. Every team wants their owner to spend more money. Every team wants their GM to go and get the big fish. But if the big fish doesn't swim properly, he drowns. The Phillies Dombrowski and the Phillies spend more money than just about anybody in baseball. What do? Year in, year out? Nothing. They got to the World Series in 22, got the World Series in 09, lost, won in 08, and that before that, 1980. So how many years have Phillies fans and the great fans of Philly and they want us to okay, here we're spending. There's already talk they're going to get rid of JT Realmuto's on the tail end of his career. So what does spending get you? Not much. We said last week only one team can win every year. The Dodgers they were lucky this year. Baseball happened for the Dodgers. That's how they backed into this one. It wasn't because of payroll. It wasn't because of payroll at all. And Yankee fans have to understand, just because you have this over elevated thought process of yourself, and over elevated preconception of what your team should do. Take a look at the dollar signs. They're trying. Hal's trying. For anybody to say that he's not, they're out of their mind. Spent $319 million. What do you want him to do? What more could they have done? Spend it more wisely. They probably could have got better players for less money to fill in gaps. So now they go out and sign Trent Grisham to 20 whatever million. Think about that. He makes as much as A-Rod did. Yeah, there you go. So they go and spend on that. That's going to come back to haunt them, because now that takes them out of the running for other guys. There's only so many dollars to go around. As he said last week, there's only X amount of dollars. You have to run that operation on a daily basis, and that costs money. You got to pay taxes on that. Every employee that runs through there has to get paid. Staff of hundreds. The spread they got downstairs for every game costs money. Yeah, they sell tickets and everything else, but they can't put any more butts in the seats. They can only raise the prices so much, then it's going to take out the little guy. They had 40,000 in their game. Still not enough. When you don't have the operating budget to do it, you eventually have to start adding to everything. I don't want to get all businessy on this, but for people to say that Hal's not spending money, they're out of their mind. That he's not doing enough and he should sell the team to who? And then what? To what end? So he sells the team to somebody else, to another business, and it just becomes another conglomerate. So is that what sports is going to become? Just another corporation buying up these franchises. And I think that's one of the good things about the NFL is that they can't do that. It has to be a family money. It can't just be a corporation, or else Apple and Amazon and whoever else would just start buying franchises, and then we'd be in big trouble. So if people think that selling the team would be a wise decision, maybe. Would it bring more championships? Doesn't guarantee anything. Doesn't guarantee a thing. Should have Hal come out and said that he's only making X amount of dollars and profitability was only X amount? Probably not. Probably a tough look for the average working stiff like myself. But he was just telling the truth, and I don't blame him for it. You can't outspend your problems. Is Cashman the problem? Yeah, it's not Hal. Are the analytics guys the problem? Probably. That's all the problem. It's not Hal. It must drive Hal nuts. It must drive Hal nuts that he spends that much money and comes up with nothing year after year. And let's not say nothing. Goes to playoffs every year. Gives Yankees fans hope every year that they're going to get something done, that they're going to win a world championship. And then they don't, just like 29 other teams. Right? He must be thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I spending this much money year in, year out? So for the fan base to be hacking on the owner for not trying and not winning anything, it's not on Hal. You look at the Cleveland Guardians, go to the playoffs every year. They don't win. But every year, they're not even in the top half of payroll. Now the Jays are looking to spend a bunch of money because they were licking the jar last year. Is Dylan Cease the guy? Might be. Are they any better? A little bit. They already won the division. They already won the division, so what more? What they came within an inch of winning the World Series. So is adding another $35 million arm going to solve the problems? Is it going to get him there? Maybe. Or is that era gone with Trey Savage? Those young up and comer pitchers. Here, go out there and wow them for a year. There's another guy coming down the pipe. All these guys throw 100. They all got nasty stuff, right? So is spending the end all and beat all? No. It's all got to come together. You got to play, like, I hate saying this. You got to play like a team. You got to earn it. You got to want it. You got to have you got to have all the incidentals to make it work. Buying all these players isn't gonna hurt you, but it ain't gonna help you. This guy doesn't hit here. This guy doesn't hit there. Done. It's all got to come together. It just hasn't for the Yankees. That's all it is. It just hasn't. Cashman has not put together, and why he's still the GM, I don't understand it. Every year you go, what the heck is he doing? Well, there is some financial constraints. So if you're paying this guy 40, you're paying that guy 45. There's only this much left over, unless you're Trent Grisham, you get 20. That's going to come back to haunt him. I don't think Bellinger's coming back. We talked about it before. But as far as people, enough with Bash and Steinbrenner, it's not his fault. This is not his fault. I'm sure he would love to spend $200 million. I'm sure if we're not going to win, we'll spend $200. We've tried it the other way. Maybe they should try that. Go out and let the kids play. See what happens. See what happens. Spend $200 million instead of $300. Then we see Yankees. What if they win? Teams have done it. The Dodgers are a juggernaut right now for the big payroll they have. I totally understand that. But in how many years in the last 20 has the team with the highest payroll won? 5, 3, 4. I don't know. I don't know what the number is. But it's not every time. You can't outspend your problems. We talk about Dominguez getting a chance to play for the Yankees this year. I guess he's hitting. I don't know if he's just hitting on from one side of the plate because I think they wanted to hit a little more right-handed. But he's only hitting, I read in the Dominican League, 170 right now. So that's, maybe he's not supposed to play. Maybe he's supposed to be over at stands like me and Ryan talked about a few weeks ago. But you look at the fan base and how they're just, it's if George was the boss, if George is the boss, if George is the boss. That's not going to solve it. If George was the boss, well, here's what happened. George was the boss back in 2000. We'll talk about the A-Rod documentary. I watched the first 2 episodes earlier on this week. I think on Tuesday. It doesn't much matter what night of the week. I don't know why I even brought that up, but it's the first one was his roots and getting brought up in New York, then moving to Miami, and then his dad leaving them and. Getting drafted by first overall by the Mariners and going to play for Seattle and bounce 1 year in the minors, I think, if that. But just how the legend of A-Rod was growing, and how much of a prodigy he was, and how great he was, and playing behind some great players in Seattle with Griffey, obviously, and Edgar Martinez and the like. Randy Johnson was there, and those great Mariner teams that didn't do anything either, but had some great chances to win. And how A-Rod was a pretty humble guy, and you could see that there was a brand starting to develop with A-Rod, and how the cockiness turned into arrogance, and the way he is. And then with the signing of the big deal with the Rangers, as we talked about 10 minutes ago, getting the $252 million contract, 10 years, which was a bad was a bad look. Not just because he got the contract, but what he was saying prior to saying how he wanted to win. So if he said he wanted to win, staying in Seattle would have been the logical thing at that point. And could they give him that kind of money? No. I mean, and obviously, and then it turns out the Rangers couldn't give him that money either, because after 2 or 3 years of that deal, they said we need to trade you. We can't afford to pay you and put on other guys around you to make this work and turn this team into a championship contender. Like, we'll keep paying you, we'll find a way to do it, but if you want to win here, you're sadly mistaken, because your $25 million is really hurting our bottom line and our ability to sign other players. So it's kind of funny how that all works, right? See what I just did there? Overpaying guys doesn't always work, and it didn't happen for the Texas Rangers. So then A-Rod went to the Yankees. We all know how that turned out. 2003, they beat the Red Sox, went to the final and lost. And then in 2004, the Red Sox again, the comeback, and it was all the A-Rod stuff. And then they didn't get back to World Series till 2009, and they won one, and it was all hunky dory, peaches and cream, and rainbows and unicorns. And but you never felt that A-Rod was part of that team, part of that that brand that the Yankees had, those grit grinders, the Jeters, the Posadas. He was more of a prima donna type of guy, and a baseball savant and a baseball dork. And he lived and breathed it, and that's what how Jeter and company rolled. And there was just always that disconnect that the Yankees always had, and their fan base did as well. And then the Forgive campaign, I haven't gotten to that yet, but there was always that stigma about A-Rod that just didn't sit right with Yankee fans or with baseball fans in general. And it really came through in the documentary that A-Rod, his desire to be so great wasn't just a desire to help his team win. It was because of his desire to be liked, and his desire to be wanted, and his desire to live up to the contract and not disappoint people, rather other than winning. It just felt that he was always that kind of guy that was more about himself than it was the team. It was about the brand and living up to the expectations that he thought people had of him, and the preconceived notions that he thought people had of him. And so it was always a weird dichotomy that just didn't jive well with anybody. And he always came across as that guy, but then he always came across that guy that was just arrogant but the way he perceived himself, or the public perceived him, might not have been fair, I guess, because we don't know what's going on between a person's ears. We don't know what's going on in a person's day-to-day lives. And we don't know, the guy's got 250 million plus in the bank, plus. But money, once again, doesn't solve all your problems. So if you have some sort of self-doubt in your head, as A-Rod turns out he did, that the preparation he had to put in every day to be that great, and then still be behind people of his generation, that in his head, for him to be not thought as on the upper echelon like Jeter was, because Jeter didn't watch baseball 24 hours a day like A-Rod did. Jeter didn't hit 24 hours a day like A-Rod did. But A-Rod's need to be that level, he had to work that hard to get there, and then to be at that level, whereas other guys didn't, and that probably drove him nuts. That other guys didn't have to put in all the work to be successful. And his desire to be loved by everyone and to be at a certain level, I think, held him back in the court of public opinion. And that's the only one that really matters. People want to be loved. People want to be looked at on a certain level. People want to have a level of expectation about and to not live up to that, and to always try to reach out and not get a hug back. I think that's what held him back. And during that documentary, they spoke of his father leaving when they moved down to Miami. His dad left the family. I don't know how many brothers and sisters. I think 2 or 3. Doesn't matter. But his family left him and and went back to New York. And during that time that he became a major leaguer and he became A-Rod and everything with his dad, his wife at that time reached out to his father, found where he was, and they set up a meet and greet a weekend in Minneapolis, and they didn't talk much. His wife bought him a couple of suits, just as A-Rod's always into suits, as when he goes to ball games or you see him on TV. And yeah, I'll talk about that in half a second. But you just A-Rod didn't basically reach out to his father and say, yeah, hey, man, I forgive you. He basically told his dad to F off. I didn't swear. I was about to 21:15 into the show here on a beautiful Saturday morning. But he didn't tell his dad. He didn't say goodbye to him. He never talked to him since. Okay, yeah, here, he didn't forgive him. He's just, yeah, you're my dad, and that's it. I'll never see you again. And I don't know if his dad's alive or not. But that is something that maybe affected him later on in life, that he wants to be loved and cared for by so many because his dad left him. And maybe that's just it. And that held him back for being a true human being. And maybe that led into the steroids. And maybe that, and it's very possible. All of those factors can come into you later on in life. I got stuff that I'm thinking about all the time. We'll talk about it tomorrow, but I got stuff I'm thinking about all the time that where you're at in life and halfway through it. And if I live to 100, I guess I'm halfway. But all the things that can happen in your life are all trickle up effect that can trickle you down. And maybe that's why the steroids came into effect, because his need to be loved by all, and his need to be his lack of actual confidence. So I got to take this to get to this level. I have to do this to get to this next level. Was there an injury? Was there this? Was there that? And that's all it could have been. But he always comes across and the documentary is called Alex versus A-Rod or whatever, A-Rod versus Alex. I can't remember which one. It doesn't matter. But he always just comes across as everything is rehearsed and everything's staged. And was this documentary, was it his way of maybe trying to get into Cooperstown and in that veterans vote that they have every year, that he's going to eventually, in the court of public opinion, things are going to change. But everything is just so rehearsed when it comes to him. The suit's got to be exactly right. The makeup's got to be exactly. I know you got to wear makeup or else your face shines like mine is if you're watching this on YouTube, because I got the ring light behind me to light things up, lighten your life here on a Saturday morning. But all the different things that happen in a guy's life that you just don't know how it gets to that point. So does he suffer from low self-esteem? I think he really does, because everything is so staged and so brand. It's the brand A-Rod that matters to him. Does he work hard? Yeah. He works harder than anybody in the business, probably. Always studying baseball, always watching it, always investments and everything else. But the A-Rod brand hurt him. His need to be at a certain level, I think, hurt him more than anything. Doesn't hurt financially, but how people see him and perceive him, that's got to hurt him. But he can't get out of his own way. And his need to be loved by the public stems from his need to be loved by his father, who took off on him. And at times you feel sorry for the guy. I don't know how sorry you feel for a guy with $500 million in the bank or more, but you feel for the guy like he just wants to be loved a little bit. And how he ended up going to the Yankees and how Jeter was just so beloved by everybody and didn't have to work at it. Getting into the next few parts of the series, maybe when we're decorating the Yankee tree down here in the tavern tonight, we'll discuss it. But it's funny how you think a guy has everything in the world by the balls, and he just wants to be loved, and that's all that really mattered. And I think there's a lot of people who are like that. There's a lot of people who just want a little bit of recognition, a pat in the back. But like I said before, a pat in the back is only 3 feet from a kick in the ass. And A-Rod gets his ass kicked for his own actions a lot of the time. He fooled me back in 2014 when he did the big forgive comeback and everything else. But it was all staged, because everything A-Rod ever does is all for a reason. It's always for a situation. It's always for some kind of a payback. He doesn't come across as genuine. He might be. I've never met the guy, never will, but he just doesn't come across as genuine in the documentary because he never has been. He just never has been, and it's hurt his image, and it's an odd situation. So yeah, make sure you watch it. It's a very good show. It's very good, even if you're not a Yankee person or a baseball person. It's a very good look into the life of a person and how they get places, and it kind of gets you thinking about maybe you don't have it so bad, you know, that maybe things aren't as bad as they seem sometimes. Because with a guy with that much money and everything else and notoriety, he just wants to be loved because something that was missed out early in his life when his father left him, and that left a big void in his life. Anyways, we'll discuss that a little bit later. Couple more topics before we get going here. Got to get moving. But Calgary Flames are winning too many hockey games. I was listening to the Barn Burner podcast this week. Those guys are great. They used to be on the Fan 960 in Calgary there, and all of a sudden they won 4 in a row, and they might be lurking themselves into a playoff spot, and they're thinking, geez, they got to quit winning. And I've discussed this in the past about them and many hockey teams that Leafs team. We'll talk about them tomorrow. But the Flames won another one last night in Florida. They won 4 in a row. I don't know where they're standing in the standings, but all of a sudden they're winning hockey games, and they signed their GM to a new deal, Craig Conroy to a new 2 or 3 year extension, and they're winning too many hockey games. All of a sudden, people are thinking they're a playoff team, and they're not. They're not good enough. They don't have the talent to do so. All they're doing is ending up middle of the road. This team hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 1989. They were in the one in 2004. They're in the final, and they lost to Tampa. And it was a great run they had there. But since then, they haven't done a damn thing, and they're kind of on that road this year again to not doing a damn thing. And that would have been a great thing. But what they're doing is they're becoming a mid-level hockey team, and that's a bad sign. Mid-level gets you mid-level. Mediocrity gets you mediocrity year after year. Every NHL team that's ever done anything worth their weight in gold has had to bottom out. Not every sport's the same way, but hockey is that one sport you got to bottom out and find a way to build it back up. Because if you're a mid-level guy, you know what you're getting? You're getting a mid-level player. And that's what the Flames are on their way to doing again, is getting a mid-level player. In a league that's watered down as much as it is, they have to find themselves a way to get an upper echelon talent for a couple of years to build this thing up to have any kind of chance of winning something when the new building opens. They can't find themselves with the 12th overall pick and the 12th overall pick and then the 14th overall pick, because you're not going to not only get a mid-level player, you're going to get mid-level free agents, because free agents can be like, I'm not going there. They can offer me X amount of dollars. There's only X amount of dollars to go around. So if you get a really good free agent, they're not going to want to go to a mid-level team, even though they're offered. Because if you're offered 11 million by one team and 10 million by another, you might take the 10 million to go to a team that has a chance at winning. But there's so few great up-and-coming hockey players and so great guys that you can build your team around, and mid-level guys. You really have to watch what you're doing. My advice to the Calgary Flames, anytime someone gets a hat trick, trade him. Anytime a goalie gets a win, bench him. Break it down to nothing. You look at how bad that Buffalo Sabres team is year after year. They did just about get there. They get a bunch of good players and then nothing. Because who wants to go to Buffalo? Not a hack on Buffalo. I've never been. I'd like to go to Buffalo. But every year, nothing. I've been in the playoffs in how many years? Mid-level. My advice to the Flames, if anything starts to go right, bench the guy. Healthy, scratch the guy. Put him up in the press box. You're paying him. Who cares? Nazem Kadri, get rid of him. He's got an uptick right now. Trade him for some picks and prospects. Break it down to nothing. Don't win hockey games. The worst thing you can do right now, Calgary, is win hockey games. Because it ain't going to do you any good. You're not winning a Stanley Cup. You're not. You might make the playoffs. You might get to the second round. That's only happened once in the last 15 years. Break it down to the absolute bare bones and get out of there, because you're not doing yourselves any favors. You're the same as the Vancouver Canucks forever. Make the playoffs, lose. Make the playoffs, lose. They had a great run in 2009, I think it was. Lost. You know, and the Canucks, they got a whole problem of their own. They can't win a hockey game to save their lives. Terrible. We'll do a breakdown of all the Canadian franchises tomorrow. That's what we'll do tomorrow morning. Before I talk about what's going on between my ears and 7 3/8. It's been a little tough lately. Yeah, it's been a little tough, but talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, the Canucks. My advice. So I'm giving advice. Saying I got some stuff going on between my ears. I'm giving advice. My advice to Canucks: walk up to Quinn Hughes tomorrow, offer him $16 million a year at 8 years, and if he says no, say thank you for your services. We're trading you tomorrow. Where do you want to go? We'll make a deal. Where do you want to go? Because if we can't get a guarantee from our best player, one of the best top 5 defensemen, 4 defensemen in the league, if we can't get a guarantee from you that you're going to sign here after next year, we can't take that chance. We can't take that. You're an asset that we need to use, that we want you around. Here's an astronomical number that we hope you sign, but dangle the carrot in front of him. And if he says no, then you can guarantee you he ain't going to sign like that. That would be enough for me to say, okay, thank you for your services. We can't trust that you're going to sign here. We need to get something for you, because we need to break this train wreck down to nothing. They already said this week they're going to be shopping just about everybody else around. Everybody with a no move clause. And they got a lot of guys with no move clauses, so I don't know what they're going to do. But I'm sure if it's that much of a train wreck, they'll want to leave. But it's nice in Vancouver, and you put up roots. But I would go to Quinn Hughes and I would say, listen, man, here's 16, 17 million a year at 8 years. Take it or leave it. And if you have to think about it, bye. We need a commitment from you. Here's our commitment to you. Are we going to get that commitment? Sign it now. Go above and beyond what he would probably get on the free agent market. Don't ask for the hometown discount. Don't ask for anything else. Just say, here it is. Take it, or we'll trade you to go play with your brothers. And then you can work out a deal with somebody else. Your contract is not our problem anymore, because we got a lot of other fish to fry out here. We got a lot of other problems. So if we can put some Band-Aids in places for the next 2 years and figure a way out to figure this out, because they're not making the playoffs either. Like they're not. You could put like it's American Thanksgiving, and this is always the breakdown of what happens. Teams that are in a playoff spot in American Thanksgiving usually make the playoffs. The odd one here and there, St. Louis 2019 is an outlier. But put it in Hughes' court. Don't leave it up to him later on, because he'll break your heart, because he'll leave if there's a better situation to win something. And then make that public. They say, okay, we offered him $18 million a year at 8 years. He said no, so we had to trade him. Make it public. Make it public and put it in his eyes. For once, make the player look like the bad guy. Say, we offered him this much money, and get the public behind you, because people in Vancouver aren't happy. People in Vancouver already aren't going to games. People in Vancouver are already complaining about the price of tickets. So, okay, well, here we offered our best player this much money. He said no. So we had to move him. And the fan base would understand. They would really, really understand. That's my opinion. That's what I would do with the Flames and the Canucks. And the Yankees, in my opinion. Don't overspend. Yeah, tomorrow we'll do a breakdown of the NHL teams. We'll probably talk more baseball, some free agent signings, and we'll talk about because Jim's a fan of the event. If you guys could go listen to his last show, he was a few minutes away from taking his life. I've never met Jim, but I could consider him a really good friend, and we chat about via text, and then we do podcasts together. But he was close to taking his own life last week, and if it wasn't for a group chat and some a mental awareness check by the police where he lives, Jim wouldn't be here anymore, and it'd be tough to know. Like, I don't even know how tall Jim is, but I like to say we're pretty close, and it's good to, like, I listen to his show every day. I just got finished listening to one. And it gets the guy thinking about some other stuff in life. And like I said, I'm not close to this. I'm not suicidal, but there's just some stuff that's been pretty tough lately, and just some awareness and some thinking that goes on in my head that makes things a little tough. We'll discuss that tomorrow when we end mental health awareness. And actually, what I'll do is I'm going to put the link up to my brother-in-law James, his Movember page, see if we can't get a few bucks raised to end up the month for him, because doesn't matter where the money comes from, but it all goes to the same pot, and we need to really start looking out for each other. And it's tough to talk about, guys. It's tough. You don't know who to lean on, and you think that you can't, but usually you can, and it's very important that you do. And so we'll talk about that tomorrow at 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. Four Beer Sports talking a whole lot more. Going to Santa Claus Parade now in Fort McLeod. Parade that back in 1981 or 82 it was started, I think. My dad was he was actually the very first. They owned a hardware store in Fort McLeod. He was the very first person to sign up for the parade, to put a float in the parade. And there's just a trailer with a bunch of kids. I wasn't on. I had a hockey game that morning, but there's a bunch of kids on the back dressed up in costumes that my mom and Linda White had put together back. Linda Cooper now, but they put together all those many years ago. My dad was the first one to say, let's get some signups for this parade in Fort McLeod. Now it's become this great big juggernaut, and it's going to be packed there in Fort McLeod. And then it's the population will triple in size to a whopping 9,000. But the highway will be packed going in. So it'll be a lot of fun going and seeing some old friends for sure, and just seeing mom out there and reminiscing with old times. So back home and so there it is. There it is. Make sure, and also. If you're still listening, thank you very much. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. I'm going to do some other shows. I'm trying to convince Deanne. We had a nice, fun conversation about some would you rathers and what ifs and stuff. And maybe we'll start doing that on Monday nights. I'm going to convince her to hop on the show here on Mondays. We'll get something for us to do together as well. But so make sure you subscribe to the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel. Go to bellyupsports.com. Subscribe. There you check all our social media stuff and just help everybody grow. And it helps people, really connect and contact and everything. Also, still got hoodies for sale. Contact me at 1420sports@gmail.com or DM me on the social media, or if you got my phone number, get you a hoodie for Christmas. Buy 12 hoodies and give them out to your friends for Christmas. We'd really appreciate it. It gets the word out there and helps support the show. Lots going on. It's Christmas season. Gonna get a tree up today, and it's Mariah season here at 1420 World Headquarters. Anyways, that's it for the show. Thank you very much for listening. And remember, everybody, doesn't matter where you are. It's who you're with. Enjoy your Saturday, and we will talk to you all real soon. Thanks for tuning into the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. Four Beer and Sports talking a whole lot more. Brought to you by SeatGeek. Go to bellyupsports.com for the best of sports articles and podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.